Hello and welcome everyone to our February 3rd Tuesday at 3 series event. This month we're focused on 6 decisions for productive, secure, and affordable artificial intelligence. I'm Alan Falcon, CEO of Cumulus Global, and I want to welcome you all here today. Appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us either here live or watching this on demand. A couple of housekeeping issues before we get started. First, you'll notice the audio is muted. That'll help prevent some of the background noise. Additionally, you'll notice in our new system here over on the right-hand side, you've got a panel that has chat, docs, and Q&A. The docs tab has some related resources we're sharing with you. We'll also include links to these in the follow-up messages. In the Q&A window, in that tab is the best place to ask questions as we walk through the session here today. I'm able to monitor it, see what's happening, and make sure we get your questions answered either in line or during the Q&A portion at the end. Additionally, we are recording the session as we do with all of our online events, and we generally get it posted within 24 hours. We'll send you an email. Please feel free to share. And on that, let's get diving into the content. So today's session, we talk about 6 decisions you need to make, and we get to those 6 questions, if you will. We're going to start with a brief discussion of some of the challenges when it comes to making decisions around AI or for AI. 3 metrics: productivity, security, and affordability. Should not be surprising given the title of the session here today. We'll talk about those as a focus of AI decision making as we go through 2026. And then we'll dive into the 6 questions and the things you should be considering as you look to deploy AI, consider how you want to use it, and understand how you're going to govern it, secure it, and manage it as well. And so with that, let's dive into some of those challenges. And there's 3 I really want to, there are many, but there's 3 I want to focus on. And that is, what is the business value? A recent study is claiming that as many as 95% of AI projects and initiatives that took place in 2025 have failed, and that they did not reach the objectives or generate the results that the businesses were hoping to achieve. And so a big challenge for AI, particularly for those of us in small, mid-sized businesses, is really understanding what we expect and what we need to get out of it to make it worthwhile. What's the goal? What's the result we want? What is the impact and the value that it's going to create for our business if we're going to spend the time and money selecting tools, doing the training the tools as well as the people, by the way, implementing it, updating our workflows, things of that nature. The second challenge is investment and risk. And because, well, you can use free AI tools. We generally recommend against it for a host of reasons, and most and foremost is security and information privacy, particularly if you're in a business that has regulatory or industry standards for privacy, or you have contractual obligations to keep client data secure, which almost all of us have. So how much money is it going to take, and how much are we willing to spend or able to spend, and what's the risk that comes with it? What if things don't go well? What if it makes things worse, et cetera? And the third challenge is, sort of takes that security element I've discussed and enhances it out, security and shadow IT. And now there's even a new term called shadow AI. So even if your business hasn't started formally implementing AI, making decisions about specific AI's tools, products, and services you want to use, chances are many, if not most of your employees are already out there using AI tools themselves to make their jobs and their lives easier on a day-to-day basis. And if that's the case, you're running some security risks around information privacy, ownership, due diligence, et cetera. And you may inadvertently be having employees sharing information about your company or your clients with public learning models and public tools, and helping train those tools, effectively putting information that should be confidential and private in the public domain. And so we look at the business value, the investment and risk, and the security issues in shadow IT or shadow AI. So with that, there's 3 metrics we want folks to think about when they're making decisions about AI. And when we talk about decisions about AI, they come at many levels, and I'll touch on different aspects at different levels throughout my conversation today. At the high level, it's the big picture. How do we want to use AI? How is it going to benefit the business? What role does it play? What do we want to establish as our governance and our ethical and moral guidance for the use of AI? How do we make sure the tools we're using are producing accurate and informative and truthful results? At the as you go down and down, you say, okay, well, we have a use case. We're going to pick a tool. We're going to implement it into the workflow. There are still decisions that need to be made about, is this the right tool? Which tool should we be using? How much, what features should we invest in if there's different tiers of the tool, things of that nature. At all levels of the AI decision process, whether you're making the big picture strategic decisions, you're making tactical decisions, or you're down to actually picking specific products and services and designing specific workflows or updating workflows to integrate AI, 3 metrics. 1, productivity. How will this benefit my team, meaning the individuals and the collaborative teams within your company, as well as the business as a whole? What are you looking for? Productivity is working, working faster, more efficiently. It could be lowering certain costs. All comes into play there with productivity. Is it helping my people be able to do their jobs and my teams to be able to collaborate and do their jobs more efficiently and more effectively over time? The second metric is security. Will the data and the information that's interacting with AI or being fed in or pulled out of AI remain secure? And what does that look like and what does that mean, not just from an operational standpoint for the end users, but from the administrative and management standpoint and from a potential outside security audit standpoint for many of our clients as well. The third metric is affordability. And it's not just, is it the lowest cost? Affordability is the value proposition. And does that value proposition really make sense for your business? So yes, you might say, we expect this productivity or this gain or this value to be added to the business. We're going to maintain or improve our security, which is another benefit. And for that, we might be spending more money this way than we would with another tool or another decision, but we wouldn't get the same level of benefit. So is the expected return in productivity and security worth the dollars you're putting in? And does that make sense for your business? And and this gets into a little bit how you measure that. Is it ROI? Is it ROA? Is it, are you looking at other key performance indicators, KPIs, that you think the AI decision you're making will move the needle? It all becomes down to how much those needles are going to move, and is it worth the money that you're about to spend? Not only the upfront investment and the time and effort it takes to deploy, integrate, secure, manage, and start, but the ongoing costs. Most AI tools have ongoing costs, and there's ongoing administrative and management overhead as well. So bring that into focus. So when we break that down, we say, okay, so what are the 6 decisions? And for anyone who's taken a high school English class or intro to journalism, this list is going to be familiar. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. And if you think of those questions at a high level, right now, hopefully many of you are saying, oh, that makes sense, right? Who's going to use it? What are we going to do with it? Where are we going to implement it? When do we want to do this? Why are we even doing this? And how's it all going to work? High level, that makes perfect sense. And so we're going to dive into these in a little bit more detail, not necessarily going in the journalist order. So in fact, I'm going to start out with why. The first decision you need to make is why. Why are you planning to use, or why are you already using AI? And when you think about it, it's not, well, AI is cool, or, we think it might be a good thing. Seriously, take a step back. What are the business drivers? What about your business is saying, we will be better off if we make this strategic decision to bring in AI? Or what about this tool that you're looking at, or this application, or the service you're looking at tapping into is needed to meet specific business goals? How does that relate? And as we do with all of our IT strategic planning guidance for our clients, you start with those business drivers, and those will create requirements that you need from the technology, which become your technology drivers. So you might start with the business and say, we need a more efficient way to provide ongoing customer and account management. And the technology driver is, we spend too much time and we should, in too many human resources, collating and analyzing data about our clients' current utilization of our products and services. We want to automate the analysis of that and provide insights that our people can then use in a more efficient manner. There's a business driver, there's a technology driver. Once you want to do that analysis, now you're focused on making decisions that meet those technology drivers, which in turn will satisfy the business needs. But part of this equation of why you're doing it is, what are your expectations? what, is there an operational impact that you're looking to have? Is there a financial impact that you're hoping to gain? Spell those out. Again, macro level at the strategy, this is AI, and this is the business and the driver that's going to create technical requirements. Here is what we expect, our expectations around operational, financial, workflow, security, etc. Same thing down at the detail level. Hey, we have a workflow we need to improve. Great, why? Start there and work through it all. Works at the high level and the low level. The second is the what. What will you be doing with AI, or what are you doing with AI? And here we talk about the use cases. Where are you going to use AI? And again, how do you answer these questions in that specific use case? If you identified something that is a repetitive task that's easily defined and boundaries on with clear sets of data inputs that you can use for AI. And keep in mind that when you think about what, also think about types of applied AI, right? So even in the world we work with in small and mid-sized businesses, when we talk about folks running Google Workspace for Business, for example, at the standard and plus levels, you've got full Gemini AI capabilities. So what do you have? You've got AI tools built into each of the apps within Google Workspace. Help me write, editing, rewording, reformatting, image generation, slide generation within slides, docs, etc. All of the things you're used to sort of seeing as an AI assistant within a productivity app working. But you also have access to Gemini AI. And this is a secure version, of a large language model that has access to the full internet. And you can give it access to your content as well securely. So there's where you can ask the questions and have the chats back and forth with the AI. You can build your personality and your persona into it and what you expect from it. You can then do deep research. You can generate images with some really, advanced imaging and video creation tools. That's one type of AI. Another type of AI is the AI that comes embedded in your line of business systems. We have that here. We do our sales and marketing right now in the HubSpot CRM system. We've subscribed to their embedded AI service because it lets us automate certain processes a little easier and helps us with data analysis that gives us better information. So when you think about use cases, you're thinking about workflow augmentation. How can I help people do their job better? We're talking about full automation of tasks, or even can we eliminate certain tasks in the workflow and make it more efficient? And then there's the task replacement. Is this something being done by a human where we won't need the human anymore? And of course, that always comes with the different risk. We can do a whole session on that. So think about what you're going to be doing with AI. So you have your why you want to do it and you need to do it. You have what you want to do. Next up is where are you going to do it? As I mentioned, it can be within existing systems. Are you enhancing the AI capabilities or adding AI capabilities to a line of business system or a back office system? Or are you talking about bringing in new systems, applications, or processes in their entirety? And what specific areas of your business is this AI going to apply to? So for example, we're looking at how we manage our service ticketing flow and our service desk system. And we realize that we have access to AI agents and AI capabilities that we can train and enhance and integrate that will let us share information easily in a analyzed way from the service environment with our cloud advisors. So that when our cloud advisors are talking to our businesses about how well their technology is serving the business, we have an understanding of what's happening on the service side and vice versa. Okay, so there we're sort of enhancing our existing environment. We're also looking and identifying use cases where we'll be putting entirely new systems and processes because we can do so efficiently with AI, where before it would have been much more software heavy or staffing heavy in order to be able to do that. So the why, the what, the where, and then it's the who. Who's going to be using it? And this is important because you can look at it in several ways. You can say, well, everyone's going to use it. Well, yeah, but big picture, macro level, that's great. Here's how we want to use AI in the different functions and responsible areas of our company. But as you narrow down, you start looking at specific workflows, tools, capabilities, whether it's embedded or standalone, What roles and functions and responsibilities is that AI going to interact with? Is it specific to individuals? Are there specific teams? Do different teams need different capabilities, even if it's out of the same tool? And then how are you going to manage authorized AI, the ones the company makes a decision to spend money on, integrate, secure, and manage, with unauthorized? That's that shadow AI. And again, unauthorized AI is extremely dangerous because the likelihood that you're sharing private and confidential, possibly even regulated information with the public or making it inadvertently public accessible is phenomenal. And I expect we'll start seeing in the next 6 months the reports and the results of HIPAA violations, of PCI violations, of SEC and FINRA violations, and violations of state regulations where information that should have been kept private was made public. And we're aware of businesses where folks who want to learn AI have taken private information and thrown it into the free version of some of the public AI tools, some of the chat tools out there, not realizing that they just shared their company's strategic plan with all of their competitors should their competitors happen to go in and ask about it. It's there. They used it to train the LM inadvertently. So the who is really important in making sure the who understands their responsibility in it. Then there's the when. And the when is it going to be used? How quickly do you want to move? Do you have a time frame where you need implementation? Do you have a full understanding of your pre-deployment requirements? Do you have boundaries on when AI can be used and when it can't? And this is less of a time when and more of the philosophical time, the philosophical when, if you will. And so those boundaries can be, hey, is this responsible? Is this ethical? Is it moral? Is it legal? These are all questions and boundaries you're going to set around your AI because the world of AI opens up a lot of questions that traditional IT just doesn't do as much. And so when will it be used? Is it for specific tasks, workflow, and process, or is it more general? And so when is the time element, but it's also the boundaries and the strategy element that comes into play. And again, asking yourself when at the macro level, when you're doing your strategic AI planning and coming up with your initiatives, the when question and when answers will be different than when you're actually, pun intended, when you're actually looking at specific tools and systems, the tactics of how you're going to implement that strategy. And so we go forward from there. And then finally, there's how. How are you going to use and manage it? What is your plan for data governance, which is what data should be in AI, what data should be kept out of it? For data that's in, how do we govern who has access, who has permissions to it, who can use it? You get into security and compliance, not just access control and permissions, but is your use of AI going to put you at risk of violating laws and regulatory standards, either at the federal or state level? Industry standards like PCI, DSS, is it going to put you at risk of violating compliance with contractual obligations that you have? It's interesting. We've received, preemptive emails and communications from some of our clients reminding them that if we're using AI, we have to adhere to the same privacy, non-disclosure, confidentiality responsibilities that we have contractually with them as if it were any other system. And so the how gets into the big picture governance. Do you have appropriate use policies for AI? How do those integrate with your other appropriate use and other policies you might have, such as harassment, confidentiality, BYOD policies, bring your own device policies? It has to mesh in. Are you establishing ethical standards on when it's okay? And the ethics of, something is an ethics standard can even be validating that data is correct that comes out and that your AI isn't hallucinating, right? That when you share information that comes from AI, you're still being truthful with the information. And then how are you enforcing that? So if you have appropriate use policies and someone violates it, what are you going to do about it? What does it mean? Where's the carrot for your employees and your team and your company is improved productivity and improved effectiveness and people are better able to do their jobs, higher job satisfaction. The stick is you got to do it and play by the rules. And if you don't, something bad can happen or something less desirable can happen to the employee, that there's accountability there. So this all comes into play together with these 6 decisions. And again, macro level is you're going to be talking about your strategy. Why are we doing this? Who's it for? Who's going to be using it? What do we want to be doing it with it? Where is it appropriate to use? When do we want to use it? What's our time frame? How aggressively, or do we want to be bleeding edge or fast follower, or when it's safe and when it's more stable, when it's commoditized? All of those questions come in at the macro level, as well as you step down from strategy to tactics to specific projects and implementations, and even specific services that you pick that you're using in people's day-to-day job functions as you modify workflows to get the use cases, to get the results you want that help deliver the business drivers for doing this in the first place. And so you start at the macro level, big picture strategy, you work your way down, and the results of that should be back up, right? Should go from the specific workflow to the productivity and security of your individual employees and teams, up to the collaboration, up to meeting the technical requirements, and therefore satisfying the business drivers and getting the business results you hope for out of the investment or the effort. And so I've covered a lot of ground, probably talked a little too quick. Now is a great time to ask questions. So I'm going to open up the floor. If you hit the Q&A window over on, should be on the right-hand side of your screen, and let me know if you have any questions. Okay, so as people are thinking about it, you go to enter. A question we commonly receive is, what are some of the metrics that you can use to establish the business value, right? And it really depends on, the nature of the business. So for us, we look at how the use of an AI tool can change the allocation of employees' time, and not how much they work, but what they're spending their work on, right? So, and their time on when it comes to work and their tasks. So for example, last year, Google contacted us. They wanted to offer a subset of our clients some incentives to upgrade their version of Google Workspace. We're like, great. We're happy to work with you on that and help get our clients a better deal. They gave us a list of 7 criteria. Now, some of those were easy to figure out. We know they're part of our regular system. Others were a little more esoteric because they required looking at patterns. So things like, between this minimum number and this maximum number of users, very easy piece of data. It's in all of our records everywhere. Things like, hasn't upgraded or modified their subscription in the last, I forget the number, I'll throw one out there, 9 months. That's a little bit different because now we're talking about looking at transaction histories, right? Then it was their user count hasn't changed by more than X% in the last 12 months. Well, that requires analysis of data, right? So we looked at it and said, hey, we've got someone in staff whose job it is to build these lists. Took him actual hours of work, about 14 hours, over 3 days to build this list. We look at it now, and by feeding the source data into one of our AI tools, we could literally say, please generate a list with first name, last name, company name, and primary email address for the primary contact at any company that meets these 7 criteria, and list them out in bullet points. And feeding that into, feeding the data into a private learning model and being able to have that prompt go out, we could generate that list in under 10 minutes. And so we didn't replace the human. We made it much more efficient for the human to do their job, to meet the business requirements and the business driver of, hey, why are we putting AI into that part of our operation? And which tool will do it the best? And so that's an example. So we look at that and say, well, that's huge value, not because we need less people or less person time. It means that individual can focus on the parts of his job that are higher value. And that's very beneficial to us. So I don't see any questions. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I'm going to thank you all for joining us here. Appreciate you taking time out of your busy day, busy week to either be here with us live today or be joining and watching this on demand. If at any point in time you have questions, feel free to ask. I should go back to the prior slide. There's there's info at the bit.ly will get you an intro call with one of our cloud advisors. It's free. There's no obligation. And there's my contact information as well. I always say it, don't call. I hardly ever answer the phone, and I never remember to check voicemails. Hit the email. I'll get back to you. If I'm super busy, I don't have an assistant, but I'll have someone on my team reach out and make the connection and get us scheduled to chat. So appreciate you all joining us here today. Please take a look at the related materials we're sharing. If you didn't have a chance to, we'll be sending links along in the follow-up email with a link to this recording as well. Thanks so much, and have a great day.